I'm going to lead us off because you're talking about all sorts of silly things that we shouldn't be talking about.
Fair enough.
Mr. Tired, Mr. Sleepy Smurf here. Here we are in, my name is Mike Wiener, and my friend here, Drew Peterson. We're talking, or we're speaking at the Iron Corral in beautiful Wadena, Minnesota. I just got done with some food, and this is Pints and Politics. So we're going to kind of
Welcome.
jump right into it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And we're going to get serious now. Hopefully, a little bit more
Hopefully, yeah.
serious.
I'm a little
Anyways.
tired today.
Yep.
I get weird when I'm tired.
Yeah, you had a visitor last night.
Yeah, okay, I found a skunk in my backyard.
Segue.
Segue. That's all we need. But anyway, you had an event in Wadena today. What'd you do?
Yes, Economic Development Chamber of Commerce had an event. Full house, basically. A lot of people from Todd County, Wadena, City of Staples, Wadena, just a lot of people were there. Three legislators, myself, Krista Knutson, Senator Paul Utke, as well as Beth Cadoon from the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. And she gave us a lot of information about legislation in the past 2 years that it's going to negatively affect economic development and businesses in our area. Not just businesses, but taxpayers and just about everything. How one-sided government or one-party control put a lot of businesses in a world of hurt with legislation that's coming up. So it was very informative. I thought it was a great event. People got a chance to ask some questions, and I think this is important because how many times do you get to sit down with a legislator, a senator, or whatever, and hear them speak about the issues? A lot of times you're going to see it on a forum. Sometimes we did that over in PBS a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It's a little bit different situation. And I think an event like this, you really get to hear your legislator and how they represent and how they think about these topics. So I really enjoyed it. And business is something I obviously care about deeply as a small business owner. And it's vital to our area. We don't have a lot of large employers. So those small employers are something we need to retain and maintain and then also build on. So it was a great event.
Yeah, and we're talking about economic development. We need that. I'm pretty sure Wadena County is one of, if not the most poorest county in the state. Could really use it up here. And I got a cheat sheet because I showed up late. I had to work. But one of the things, increase OSHA penalties. That's fun. That means you have to spend more time and money training people on all the new OSHA regulations.
Well, and how does that affect a small business? When you have less than 5 employees, you got one person that's taking care of office work generally, or you're a LLC, depending upon how it is. Every minute you're not making money, you're not running your business.
Mm-hmm.
That you have
losing money.
You're losing money, and so that regulation just hurts small businesses more than anything. And that's the lifeblood of a rural economy. Think about how many different businesses are around you, and they start off kind of organically. Maybe it's somebody that's working farming or working a job in town, but then they pick up something on the side. Maybe they're fixing tires. I've got a neighbor that does that. He goes out, he drives a school bus during the day, or I'm sorry, in the morning and the evening. During the day, he has a mobile service truck. So he goes and fixes tires for farm equipment or semis or whoever calls him, So that's that organic growth. And all of a sudden, in the future, they have 2 trucks or 3 trucks or whatever.
I'd bring up even just cattle farming because you can sell extra cattle to individuals in person where you ship it off to a local meat locker. I hear there's a really good one in Staples. I know a couple guys who tell me about it. They go there to get butchered at, I guess nowadays it's like $3.50 a pound for processing, which is actually really good. Save a lot of money if you buy the whole cow. But
I'm not sure.
again, and that can turn into an even bigger deal. And so my livestock example will expand to Nebraska. There's a brand called Holstone, and it started off as farmers raising pigs, selling them individually to just individuals. Then they co-opted together to buy a big butchery and sell it commercially.
Right. And that's that organic growth of a lot of these businesses. We see it all over the place. So those are how those small businesses start. They grow into something else. And every time you put more regulation and more taxes on those businesses, it crushes them.
Yeah.
So bringing that up, something else that I had a chance to visit this week was actually the college over in Staples
Oh yeah.
for their meat cutting, the mobile meat cutting operation that they have, the money that's been invested into that. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. Did they start that up yet, or is that next year?
Uh,
I've heard rumors about that as well.
the ribbon cutting, the classes and stuff, I think are already taking place, but to put the facility together has taken a lot of partnership, a lot of investment, and it's great because that's one of those businesses, especially out in rural Minnesota, because we raise our own beef as well. We saw a few years ago that you actually had to schedule a locker well over a year out,
Yeah.
sometimes to the point of 2 years. How do you schedule something that far out when people want their meat now,
Yeah.
not 2 years from now?
Yeah. No, there's good money in butchering. I can tell you that. I butcher my own deer every year and hogs. If I buy a hog from somebody, like I have fun doing it. I might actually go through that class.
Well, what's interesting is there was a small locker plant in almost every single one of these small
Yep.
towns. And what's happened is you've seen less and less of them. Those folks are retiring, they're moving out of the business, and nobody's there to take over the business. So a skill set is being lost.
Yep.
And that's why the school itself also, you used to have classes, I believe, in some of the high schools and some of the colleges before. And we needed to bring it back because it's something that with industrialization, it's less and less available, and there's an art form to it.
Well, and
Takes
knowing,
talent.
so I know people who at CLC, and the thing about that school is it's a tech school, and they have a heavy equipment operating class course that you can go through, and they do robotics and so automation, heavy equipment, and diesel mechanics. Those are all high paying industries. There's good money in it, and it's just it. At a school like that, you can spend like maybe $5,000 over the course of 2 years and get that certification and just make bank.
So, and I wish I had the numbers here with me, but I visited Alec Tech a couple weeks ago, and it was interesting. Their graduates for the first 20 years are earning more money than 4-year college degrees.
Yeah, it's a much more sound investment. If you're looking for higher education, that's one way to go.
Well, I think that to me, I had never heard that number.
Yeah.
So people say, well, you got to have a 4-year degree in order to make more money. It took 20 years before that 4-year degree started producing as much as what their graduates were in the tech college. And think about how many times people change industries and careers. So, to me, when you look at the investment as far as college or tech college, I think when we have the opportunities like CLC and Alec Tech around us, those are great things because the opportunities are there, the jobs are there right now.
Yep.
We have some good
Oh, there's
resources in our
there's high
area.
demand for those jobs.
Yes,
Also, while we're shouting out tech schools, we might as well shout out Wadena Tech because we're in Wadena.
you're right.
And they're all over the place and they're good programs. When it comes to higher education, it helps to know what you want to do, but a tech job will get you by. But anyway, we're talking about regulation.
I'm sorry.
And since we're talking about one of the issues and state law and the bad things about our the state of our state legislation, we have an election year coming up, and we had just talked a couple of weeks ago about the state of daycare. We're using the word state a lot, but one of the things about our regulation, again, with daycare, it kills us. It really does. And a big thing is since we do have an election year, we need to vote in proper legislators like yourself. And we just really need to know what's on the ballot this year. And we have some on the ballot this year, don't we? That ballot initiative, even.
Right. We have it's a constitutional change, and I'll read this here because I think this lays it out as well
Yeah,
as
what's the name of the initiative, first of all?
I wish I had the bill here with me, what the language was, but it's a constitutional change for the clean water. What is it
It's
called?
Clean Water Act.
LCCMR.
But it's basically the title of it talks about do you want to support having clean water
Right.
and send money to clean water?
Right. Now that fund or base, I'll read this and then we'll dig into it a little bit more. It says the legislature passed a bill that puts a question regarding the Environmental and National Natural Resources Trust Fund on the 2024 ballot. The question asks if voters want to extend the process of lottery funding going into the trust fund for 25 years. This new iteration would also take the legislature completely out of the equation. Legislators would have no say. That in turn takes the people's voice away. I want to remind folks that those who serve on the LCCMR are appointed. They are not elected. Many have their own agenda. The way I see it, this is just another way to circumvent the voice of the people and consolidate power in the hands of unelected bureaucrats. Once again, this is yet another way of eliminating transparency in the process by taking the legislature out of the process entirely. The people get no say in selecting projects. Voices are being ignored. This is wrong, and it should not be the standard when it comes to spending your taxpayer dollars. Right now, those projects have to get voted on. They have to get discussed by your legislators. So if that money is being spent on things you approve of, you can talk to your legislator. If it's getting spent on things you don't approve of, you can say, why are you approving this bill? What, you're responsible for the people that you represent. If that decision is taken away from the legislators and now put into a bureaucracy, now you have no control of it.
Yep. You have no control where it goes. You have no say. And honestly, you're probably not even going to know where it goes.
Well, the other thing is it extends it from 10 years. So every 10 years, this is supposed to be renewed. It would extend it out to 25.
Yeah.
We've seen the waste, fraud, and abuse in government. And we need a check and balance to make sure that these things are doing what they say they're doing. If you extend this from a 10-year to 25-year, you can have fraud going on
For 25 years.
for 25 years before you can change that setup. That's wrong.
Which is funny you brought that up, that you said those words exactly, because I was about to ask you, like, what's the potential for corruption here? I'm going to go ahead and assume it's very high, especially considering the Feed Our Future fraud scandal that's going on. And I don't know how that's going so far. I haven't looked into it.
I think there was somebody that was just convicted, 12 years in prison, I believe, something
Good.
to that effect. We've seen the daycare fraud.
Yep.
That was a huge issue, and it still is. When you take a check and balance out of this system, the other thing is it's not going to eliminate that fund.
Oh, yeah?
But by voting no, it does not eliminate that fund.
Yeah.
It simply says you're going to keep doing it every 10 years where we're going to renew this, and it keeps the legislature in charge. But the way it's worded is really confusing, and I think it's deceptive, and I believe that was done intentionally.
Yeah, it's meant to sound nice so that you'd vote for it.
Right? Who doesn't want clean water? You'd
Yeah.
have to be an idiot to vote no on this, right? The devil is in the details.
Yeah.
We saw this thing in many pieces of legislation, and especially when it comes to constitutional amendments. Constitutional amendments should be clear, they should be concise, you should know what you're voting on. They should not be deceptive, and you should not have to say, I don't really know what this means. This is another one of those pieces of legislation that are horrible. Vote no on this bill. It's going to get renewed anyways, but you need to have control over it. Your legislators need to have say in how that money's being spent.
Yeah, a vote no on the Clean Water Initiative doesn't mess up your water. It just leaves you in charge of the money, essentially.
The other thing is on that bill, if I remember correctly, is that right now some of that water, or I'm sorry, some of those funds
Mhm.
can be used for municipalities like drinking water systems.
Okay.
Once this change takes place, it will no longer be an option to spend some of that money on those things. It's crazy how this changes, and yet it sounds so good on paper.
Yeah, if you look into the details, it just reeks of corruption.
It does.
And
And I believe in the next few years, you're going to see with the record surplus, that $19.5 billion surplus that got spent. And so much of it went to nonprofits and NGOs and other things. The amount of fraud you're going to see in the next few years is going to be unbelievable. That's just my forecast. That's my
yeah,
2 cents, because you take that much money, you throw it out into a system and expect there not to be fraud. You're fooling yourself. And the taxpayers should have gotten that money back. But now we're going to see wasted money on top of that.
Yeah,
Crazy.
that's gonna hurt when we get the comeuppance from it. I can tell you that much.
For sure.
But again, election year, so vote no on that. And vote yes for Mike Weiner. Vote yes for Donald Trump. I can do that, right? I can give him a shout out, Trump.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
It's our podcast. What are they going to do? Take us off.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Well, you got anything else from your Chamber of Commerce meeting today?
No, just good conversation. I thought it was great.
Good.
What else?
Well,
There was another topic we were going to talk about.
yeah, we always forget somehow.
I need a secretary.
Don't you have one?
Married, I mean,
Yeah, that works. Yeah, put the wife to work.
she keeps me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Oh, school board in Long Prairie. I don't know if you've heard about that.
I heard the guy
Big
got fired.
kerfuffle. Well, it's an interesting situation. Um, a lot going into it, a lot of the details, but so many of the things that keep coming back. And people ask the question, why did he get fired? Well, he isn't actually fired, he's reassigned.
Reassigned from his current job.
Reassigned from superintendent to some other
Unemployed?
position. Not unemployed.
Okay.
You would think if the performance was as bad or bad enough to reassign somebody, you probably would have gotten rid of them, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But the reoccurring theme that comes up here is people ask the question, what's going on? What did he do that was so bad? And the answer is, we don't know.
Yep.
We don't know. So there was change in the school board. There was a few individuals that left, retired, moved off the board. And then what we saw was a performance evaluation, which the superintendent made public.
Yep.
He said, we can talk about this publicly. So that came out, and it seemed like with the new members on the board, there was an emphasis to get him to leave in a way.
Yeah.
So what we've seen now, and I guess this is the best way I can compare it. Say you're in the Old West, right? You come riding up into this town, and there's a crowd of people, and you've got a person that's on the gallows ready to be hung, right?
Yeah.
Your first question is, what did that guy do?
Yep.
And the response is, we don't know, but we're going to hang him. What do you mean you're going to hang him? Well, he must have done something wrong. We don't know, but we're going to hang him anyways. The perception of an injustice is unbelievable in this situation. And the people themselves, the people are upset about this. They see the superintendent as having done a good job. His community involvement, what he's done for the school, I personally like numbers. He's done very good at balancing the budget, considering the hard situations that a lot of school districts have had. So to look at it, and the folks themselves that are involved in the school, and the students walked out on Tuesday.
Oh, really?
There was a walkout at the school. There was a peaceful protest before the hiring of an interim superintendent on Tuesday morning at 7:00 Tuesday morning. The school board meeting took place. The perception of injustice is huge. The people themselves, the citizens, the people that have kids in the school are not happy because, and I feel it is this way. It is seeing like somebody is getting railroaded, seeing somebody getting treated unfairly or unjustly. Now, would that change if they knew what the issues were? Perhaps. But until that happens, nobody knows. And therefore, if you were in that situation, wouldn't you want somebody to step up and help you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for the community to come together, for me to be on the same page as some of my politically opposite citizens in the area, and to be on the same page on this issue, it takes a lot. But it's kind of interesting. I'm shaking hands with people that I normally haven't had much conversation with, and they're seeing the same thing. They're saying something is wrong here. There's an injustice being done, or the perception of injustice, and they're trying to make their voices heard. I think WCCO and the Star and Tribune is actually going to be doing an article on it.
Oh,
So we'll see how that works out.
yeah. Oh,
Nobody wants to see somebody treated unfairly.
exactly. And I remember what we were going to talk about now. We were going to talk. You had a debate recently,
Yeah, I did.
and there was a couple of debates going on that night with Lakeland News. So you can look them up, Lakeland News, Minnesota. They have a YouTube channel for sure. Um, so you debated your Democrat opponent,
Yes.
which you did a good job. I think the intro was a little
Thank you.
spotty, but you did a good job. You didn't.
Thanks for the critique.
Hey, I got to be honest. Um, your opponent, he seemed nervous, but again, after you guys got through the intro scene, things seemed to go smoothly. But there's one thing that just really stuck with me, or at least stood out, is when it came to the issue of housing specifically. And Greg Hendrickson's a big proponent of senior housing, which is a good thing. Old people need homes too. But does he want to kick old people out of their homes? I I'm left with the impression that he does.
So
Because and during the debate, by the way, he mentioned it 3 times, trying to get old people into assisted living or into group homes.
the the fact of the matter is, it's not just Greg Hendrickson.
Okay.
This has come from many different sources that are basically saying the same thing. We have elderly individuals living in what used to be maybe an old farmhouse, family house, whatever it was, multiple bedrooms, things like
Yeah.
that. And what they're promoting is we need to get those people into senior living somewhere or places, smaller homes so that we free up those houses for families.
Yeah.
Now, the concept isn't necessarily a bad one, but when government is going to force people out of their homes, and that's exactly what was said, we need to get those people out of their homes. Excuse me. We are not kicking grandma out of her home. And I was just flabbergasted when he said that.
So was I, and it's a good thing I wasn't in the room because I was audible about that. I was like, what?
I just think of my own mom. She's living on the family farm. She's living on the home farm. She wants to stay in her home
Yeah.
as long as possible. And you're going to take away that right from her? The work that she's spent, that the family has spent, um, building up that family farm, having her there, this is where she's comfortable. This is where she wants to stay. And a government bureaucrat,
Mhm.
a
Because it will be a bureaucrat.
it will, is going to come out and say, your house is too big. You need to go live somewhere else so that we can take your house and put somebody else in here.
And most likely, given the state of DNC policies or DFL policies, that house will most likely go to migrants and not American citizens.
It's a crazy concept, and it was vocalized that day, and
Yeah,
I
I was in
could
shock.
I could not believe it.
But in his defense, he did walk it back after you called him out. But still, I don't know where that comes from. But also another big thing that night, and should be Representative Ben Davis, who debated after you with his guy. There was an issue. There was technical difficulties, right? Can you go over that?
Well, it appeared that way. Ben started talking about the question was about misinformation or disinformation, and
Mhm.
Ben started saying that our First Amendment rights were under attack, and there seemed to be technical difficulties. We were in the outer office watching this as it was going on, and we thought it was maybe just the play between the recording and the television,
Yeah.
right? We said we'll watch it tomorrow and see what he said. The next day, I listened to it. Actually, I was driving, and oh yeah, everything got garbled, everything got mixed up, and it said we're experiencing technical difficulties. So nothing what he said when it came to his First Amendment um, discussion was played, and it just seemed very odd.
It kind of makes me laugh because in a way it sounds like the anti-censorship argument is being censored. Kind of like a fire truck on fire.
Well, it just was. If it was a coincidence, it was an uncanny, um,
Yeah.
as far as the timing of that coincidence. So I wish I had heard everything that Ben had to say, but yeah, it was cut out. But by the appearance, it was cut out.
That's funny. Again, shout out to Representative Ben Davis. He's pretty cool too.
Yeah,
His heart's in the right place.
Ben's a good guy. We had a lot of good discussion and topics. PBS does the um, forums, the candidate forums, debates over there.
Well, it's public broadcasting, but specifically Lakeland News, and that's the local Brainerd
Correct.
Bemidji area.
Correct. So if you want to get a chance to watch your candidate, look that up. Lakeland PBS.
Yep. But anyway, I think that wraps it up. We hit the things we needed to. We got a little bit extra with
Nope.
Long Prairie.
We're
Are we
forgetting
missing?
something.
What are we forgetting?
How many weeks out are we? How many days out are we from election?
It'll be 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So yeah, vote.
2 weeks. Get out and vote.
Yeah, if you're gonna vote early, do that.
It cannot be stressed enough how important this is. There are some positive signs coming out. Early voting is going on. Generally, the Democrats do very well in this. I seen a stat the other day that Republicans are leading in early voting right now.
Yeah.
So that's good. But make your voice heard. Get out and vote. We've got Wadena County BPOU up here doing an amazing job. Advertising, trying to get more people out to vote. Todd County's doing the same. I see Cass County's got an initiative. We had what, 267,000?
Republicans who didn't vote in 2022.
That's right.
It's a lot.
That's horrible. We could have an entirely different government in this state. We could have a trifecta in the other direction.
Yeah, we could.
Isn't that amazing?
And then we wouldn't have to worry about having money going to clean water being put into a slush fund. And I say slush fund in quotes because we don't know if that's the case yet.
Well, it could have changed everything by people simply showing up to vote. And when we see what's on the ballot this time, not just a clean water legacy, but basically the future of our country, the future of our state, get out and vote.
Yep, it's important. Vote your values, by the way.
That's
And-
another great one
and-
you guys came up with.
Yeah, no, we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
I was trying to give you credit.
Oh, well, yeah, it was us.
Okay,
It said vote your values because if you don't, you're gonna live under somebody else's
that's
or
right.
the values of somebody who does.
That's right. We often hear in politics, and this is what brought that conversation on, you can't legislate your morals. That's a statement that gets said all the time. But here's the thing, if you don't legislate your morals, someone else will legislate theirs.
Yep. And when that's law, you have to live under the law.
That's right. So get out and vote. Thank Wadena County BPOU for everything they're doing. They're doing an amazing job. But yeah, get out and vote. Bring a friend, bring a family member, bring bus loads of whoever you can, legal citizens, and get them
Eligible voters.
there we go. And get them to vote.
Uh,
All right, I think we're done.
good
So
deal.
once again, Iron Corral.
Find some politics.
Mike,
True.
thanks
God
a lot.
bless.